everyone, welcome back. This is Laura from lottiejasminedesigns. Today we're going to do a lovely project with some shell moulds and some metallic silver powder from Let's Resin. The resin we use is Vista resin. So here you can see me, I've turned the mould inside out and I am brushing the mould with a metallic silver powder using a paintbrush to make sure I get into all the nooks and crannies. And then here we go, we're just going to mix up the resin. So we use 100 mils of part A, which looks rather cloudy and milky, very, very thick. There we go. And then also 60 mils of part B, which is a lot more clear, which is a lot clearer and thinner. Then spend at least 5 minutes stirring this so that it all thoroughly combines, making sure that you scrape down the sides of the container that you're mixing the resin in, and that you scrape it off the stick as well. So here we go. I obviously am not going to make you watch 5 minutes of me stirring resin. So here we are, adding a couple of pinches, I would say, of the metallic silver powder, and it's dispersing through the resin. So there we go, we're going to mix it up. This is sped up, obviously I wasn't mixing it this fast. Do take care when you're mixing this, and always make sure that you wear your gloves to protect your hands. There we go. So just making sure it's all thoroughly combined, and it has the opacity and appearance that we're looking for. Very, very different, as you can see, to our previous video where it was more of an intense silver glitter within the resin rather than an actual opaque solid colour. So here's one of the shell moulds, all nicely dusted with the metallic powder, and we're just gently pouring in the resin. It will self-level within the mould. Just do this so that you pour in a small amount first, let it settle, and then I'm just doing my usual squidging around the edges of the mould to try and dislodge any air bubbles or, you know, spaces where resin might not be able to get to quite so easily. Now I'm not going to use a mini stir stick like I did in the previous video, because if I do that I run the risk of dislodging some of the metallic powder that I painted on the inside of the mould. So there we are, just putting that to one side. We're going to do the second one now, just topping it up. There we go, with a bit of resin, same as we did with the first one. We're going to squidge around the edges, dislodging any air bubbles, encouraging the resin to go to all parts of the mould, make sure it's thoroughly coated and filled. So just letting it, there we go, just again, and we're going to fill it up with maybe a little bit more. And I know I've got too much resin, so at this point thinking about what I could use the spare resin for that I have left over. Always a good idea to have some moulds put to one side so that you can use your leftover resin. So just getting rid of a few air bubbles that I could see had come to the surface around the edges of the open part of the mould. Topping it up with a little bit more in that one. So here we go. I'm going to use the rest of the resin to fill some bookmarks. So you could use these, you could make some traditional bookmarks, you could add some embellishments, you could add some more decoration. You can also wait till they're semi-cured, demold them, and then wrap them round. We used a wooden spoon handle, and then tape them in that position so that then when they're finally fully cured, you can take them off and then sort of look like a bit like a spiral. And then you could actually attach them to some fishing wire or some see-through wire or cord or thread or whatever you want, and you can use them as part of a mobile decoration or a wind chime. So here we are, we're just filling up another bookmark, slightly smaller size than the one before, making sure that all the resin is thoroughly up to the edges of the mould. Trying to discourage any little air bubbles from forming. You need to make sure that it also goes to the edges of all of the mould, even behind that little like piece that's stuck up. That's the bit, the little like, I don't know what you'd call that really. That bit there, that's it. So it goes around behind the back of that little nugget or nubbit, I don't know what you would call it to be honest, that's sticking up is the one that creates the hole for you to then put through attach your tassels, if you're making a key ring, your key ring wire work, or the thread and cord if you're going to make it as part of a design, a mobile design or a wind chime. So here we are the following day. It's cured overnight. I think it's cured quite well. I've put up one of those food pop-up covers, keeps flies off, keeps all the bits of hair and dust and so on going in, and it all looks like it's cured pretty well. I've also done a small skull mold because I had more resin than I thought I had. And just saying here that, you know, it's fully cured, and I'm going to demold not wearing gloves because I want to see, particularly with the shell molds, if any of the metallic powder transfers onto my skin. Okay, so here we are with the skull mold. I always find these so difficult to demold. Go careful with yourself and also with your molds, because sometimes you can get some sharp edges, and last thing you want to do is be cutting yourself. So here he is. Here's the skull. It's quite a solid colour, which compared to last week's where we are, there's the glittery sparkly one compared to the metallic silver one. We'll just put, there he is. Quite pleased with him. He's quite sweet. So he'll go with my other collection of skulls that we've got made from leftover resin. So again, just go careful with these. Careful with your moulds. Release around the edges and the top. And there we are. So here we are, just releasing the mould. Just go careful. I'm just checking to see, I don't know if you can see on some of my fingers already, it's picked up some of the metallic powder. That could just be from inside the mould, the stuff that didn't adhere to the resin. I'm just checking the edges. As you can see, there's some overfill or overspill here. So what you would do is you take your emery board or a very fine grade of sandpaper and just lightly sand over the edges to make them smooth. There we go, compared to last week's one. You cannot see through this, which was the effect I was looking for. It's beautiful, but as you can see there on my thumb, some of the powder is coming off. So what I'll do is in a few days' time or a week or so's time, I'll go back and I'll check the shell mould again just to see if I've got the same thing happening. If I have, then I'll have to think about what I can do to stop that from happening, the transfer from happening. And there we are, Mr. Skull. So I did the second shell mould off camera, and I'm rather pleased with those. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching. And here's the final product. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.